So I'm going to show you how to set up the manifold, and this is the same for if you're doing surface water chemistry or also algae. This is the same setup. So you've got your vacuum pump here, you've got your out and your in. This is pretty easy. If you just turn it on, you can feel there's air blowing out that way. So that's your out and this is your in. So this first tube right here goes to your Erlenmeyer flask. And then this should already be set up. You should have a clear, rigid tube already set up with through a stopper to another flexible tube. And then this one is going to this larger one. This is basically the same as this setup, but just larger. So you can see that this is the tube, rigid, and then the clear tube going through this all the way to the manifold. So we have two Erlenmeyer flasks here. As you are pouring water, water is being collected up here, and then it's traveling into here, and then this is where your liquid will come up. So you want to prevent liquid from going into this, so that's why we have two systems here. Just in case this one gets filled up and this should go into here, we have sort of a backup so it doesn't get into our expensive pump. Here in our manifold we have 3 valves, and so these are on, so much like water, this is parallel, so this is on, and so it's open, and then this is off. So if it's on, and then we'll turn on our pump right here. So if we start to close these, what we'll notice is the vacuum pump is working a little harder, so it's going up a little bit more. And so if you need more suction, because you've got a lot of particulates, you can adjust this. High and low, so left or right, you can just adjust it. And the important thing here is that you not exceed 15 inches of mercury, because at that point you break chloroplast cells and also just break your filter. That is kind of fragile. This is on, and so it's open, and then this is off. So now I've got these in the open position, and I'm going to rinse them all before I actually put sample in there. I'm going to rinse them with DI water. Want to make sure you're getting everything. And right now, since there's really no suction on it, but the water is going down, so if you turn it on, you kind of hear that. That's the sound of no filter and some water. So I tap it a little bit and make sure all that is good. And your valves are open right now to make sure the water is actually going through. And you won't see water in here for a while because it actually collects about 150 milliliters in here. So now I'm going to put a filter on my manifold. So you just twist this, and I usually just that upside down. This is a 25 millimeter GFF filter, and it's been ashed. So it's important that we not touch these with our fingers, but we're using these with clean forceps. And I'm using a filter forceps, so it's like a spatula. So you can see that it can be kind of difficult. Boop. But we've just got one, and then we want to put that on, and we've already cleaned that. And so then you want to match this. There are notches up here, so you just want to match that, and it'll sit, and then you'll just twist. And you don't want to twist too hard because you'll actually, that inner circle will act like a cookie cutter, and it will tear your filter. So just hand tight, and now we're ready for our sample. And so here I am. I'm going to put another one on. So there's my filter. See that there's what's called a rough side, sometimes we like to say, and pattern side. So I'll go ahead and put this one on as well. So now I'm ready to measure my sample water. So I have my graduated cylinder here. So I've triple rinsed this already with my sample water. And then I'm ready to measure what I will actually sample. So I'm going to shake this for 15 seconds. Whenever you are pouring new sample, 15 seconds. To homogenize all of the sample that's in there. So sediment will sit at the bottom, and so you want to make sure that you're getting a representation of the sample in each filter. Okay, So I'm doing that. That's been at least 15 seconds, and now I'm pouring. I'm gonna pour to 250. This is a 250 graduated cylinder. So we're ready to start filtering our water. So we've got our sample here, pouring to the funnel side so we don't hit our filter directly. Just poured out my sample, and what I wanna do is rinse with DI water to make sure I get all of that lovely sample onto my filter. So that was a rinse, and then pour into there. I've poured 2 samples out already, so I'm just gonna do 2 samples right now. Normally you would have 3 samples. You would have your isotopes, 2 isotopes, and then your TCP in. So usually I label my manifold so I know which is which. Also, if they are all the same volume, then it doesn't really matter which is which, because they're all using the same filter and all the same sample water to go in. So if they're not, make sure you keep track. Or you can do it one at a time so then you don't lose track. So now I'm gonna turn on my manifold. I'm gonna close this one because there's actually no sample in that one right now. So I'm gonna turn it on. And so you've got these 2 running. And the sample is going through slowly. And we can see that we're getting kind of close to 15. So I want to slow that down a little bit. You have a lot of control. And then you'll want to make sure as well that all of these are closed really well, and then that you're getting good suction. You can see that after I sort of pushed on this water seemed to go down a lot faster. So we could have had some leaks here. It's not going to hurt the sample, it's just going to slow down your processing time. So now that most of the sample has gone down, I'm going to go ahead and rinse the funnel with my DI water. And I'm doing that because there's sample residue on our funnel, and we want to make sure that gets into our filter, or onto our filter. And so now you take a look, and there's some nice color on there. So how much volume you actually pour into your funnels will be dependent on how murky your water is. I believe 500 milliliters is the desired amount when we're talking about water. So I've recorded sample volume onto my data sheet or on my tablet because that is very important to understand how much sample we are actually filtering. So right now what I like to do is just remove these. And so we're still drying out the filter because a dry filter is easier to deal with than a non-dry filter. So that they look pretty dry right now. So I'm just going to go ahead, and you can do this in any order. Just going to turn it off, and then you can also close these. And then you can hear right now that there's still suction. Anyways, you want to break that seal because right now it's stuck on there pretty well. So I like to crack. So you heard that little pop. I'll do it right here too. Pop. Okay. So one nice thing to do to release the filter from its base right here is to push down on this. And so that now that this is closed, that pushing down sort of forced that air to push up so on the filter, so it's been released a little bit, and you can see that it's a little up from the base, and that'll ease grabbing the filter and then folding the filter. So you can see how pushing down in this area that's now closed has pushed the filter up a little bit, so that's going to make grabbing the filter a little easier. So I have my foil bag here that has clean foil, and I usually fold them up like this so the inside is clean. So they're pre-folded, so I can just peel one off, and that's the one that I'm going to use for this sample right here. And so what we want to do is first get the filter, and so all of these bases have this little notch that can be really helpful. So you'll want this notch to be where you'll go in with your filter forceps to pull up on the filter. And when you do pull up on the filter, you just want to touch the white area, which is really skinny. And you want to make sure when you pull this up, sometimes that water tension will also pull up this little black sieve that's just held there for gravity. So now we've got that, and we're putting our filter into here, and a nice trick that I learned from D3 was to use the edge of that crease of that foil and to use that as a push. And then you can see on my other hand that I'm just using that to brace, because you don't want to actually touch the sample. So I've closed it all with one hand of forceps, and now I can push it closed, and there's my sample. So now I'm going to fold my foil. So fold on top first, and then on the sides, and then we would flip it over and put our label on right there. Record the volume that I filtered onto there, and it would have the sample ID on there as well. That extra DI water that I use to rinse both the graduated cylinder and then later my funnel does not get included into my sample volume, because that is just DI water and that shouldn't have any other extra sample in there. We've been filtering for a while. My filter is clogged, so it looks like there's about 30 milliliters here. So I don't want to wait much longer because I've got things to do. So I'm just going to pour this off, and it's about 30 mils. So I'll just say that this was 220 mils of sample, and that'll be fine.